gentlemen, let's discuss the Book of Boba Fett, or should I say the Mandalorian, Chapter 5. Now, of course, I've got Hamish with me today, and our special guest, Sam. How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm good.
So, Sam, why have we brought you here, realistically? We don't have any quote of a special guest yet.
I'm pretty sure that's it. You have no quota. You just poking the bottom of the barrel. Reeled me off, and here I am.
Wait until everyone sees whose next week guest is. He's very close to home. You alright?
What?
So Troy will be joining us next week. But no, Sam, we've known you for quite a while, and obviously you're a big Star Wars lore fan. As pointed out when we was watching the Book of Boba Fett earlier, you actually gave us a lore deep dive on the tracking fob we use, isn't it? So
Yeah. I'm actually surprised you didn't know how they worked.
I can tell you all about Thrawn and everyone else, but it's like one detail I didn't pick up on. So
I just thought it was going to be like some sort of stupid reason how it works. It's just be like, oh, it just knows where people are.
Yeah, it's just like this very meta device of, oh yeah, beep, boop, boop.
Yeah.
it might be you. But obviously this was called Return of a Mandalorian. It should have basically been called, instead of Book of Boba Fett, like all of us have said this on occasion watching it today, it felt like we was watching an episode of The Mandalorian. Because halfway through I forgot what show I was watching. Because when it ended with Fennec turning up, I was like, oh yeah, it's Boba Fett, isn't it? Whoops.
Yeah.
I thought it was an episode of The Mandalorian.
Well, I mean, to be fair, she was in The Mandalorian as well,
Yeah, sure.
so...
That was so interesting. But I think what a lot of people are saying online is this does appear like an episode of The Mandalorian. But I think it's important to remember the show is called The Book of Boba Fett. Now in books, presumably you've both read some books in your time.
What's a book?
He's from the
He's
forest, he
right.
doesn't know what books are.
No. So in books, obviously, they have chapters to establish certain characters, don't they?
Yeah.
So I think we can just think of this as a chapter of a book of Boba Fett to establish a Mandalorian. Not that he needed establishment, but I feel like they needed to tell a bit more of his backstory to actually get him to where this makes sense now.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if he just turned up with the Darksaber, a lot more questions would have been asked.
Yeah.
Also,
I feel like they also needed to like introduce him as being a bounty hunter again, because obviously we've got this whole plot point from The Mandalorian where he's been very separated from the bounty hunter guild. So I feel like this has kind of like brought him back into the fray and like given him a reason to join up with Boba again.
For sure. Yeah, joining up. I wish we'd seen Boba Fett actually in this episode. I think it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Because Fennec turned up, but...
I'd say even if it was just like a small plot piece at the end where it's just like Fennec goes back and it's like gives Boba the money back and he's just like, good.
He's on his way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just sort of a line of like knowing that he's with them.
Speaking of, obviously that was the ending of the episode. Speaking of the opening of this episode, I didn't expect them to just jump straight headfirst into it. Because I think chapter 4 was like, oh, we can get some hired muscle theme plays. Everyone's like, oh, Mando's appearing, he'll arrive, like, we'll go and find him. No, they just open with him and spend the whole episode dedicated to him. It does feel like a bit overdone in a sense, but also at the same time, like, let's focus on the intro segment. That way there was just beautiful storytelling, setting him up and just dealing with the Darksaber. And as you pointed out earlier, Sam, but chopping the guy in half with the saber is some of the darkest Star Wars stuff, like, seen in quite some time.
Yeah, like it's definitely up there with the ending shot of Rogue One, where like Darth Vader's coming through and you see like the pure fear on the rebels' faces, and you know it shows like the brutality that a lightsaber can bring to a fight. It's just such an advanced weapon in the Star Wars universe that people aren't really able to deal with it.
Oh, I loved it, just that whole scene. But also, we can tell what's really cool is obviously Mando is not made to wield a sword, particularly a lightsaber. Yeah. So when he slashes his leg, it shows that he has got this super powerful weapon that can unite the houses of Mandalore. But realistically, he's not that proficient in using it. Like Gideon probably had a bit more time training with it, I think, when he nicked it.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bo-Katan wielded it for I think easy to say quite a few years before she lost it. So like Mando's probably had it. There's no timeline for when he's had it. I think it's been a couple of months at this point he's had it.
Yeah.
Since the attack on Gideon's cruiser, because it's 9 ABY this takes place in. So I reckon he's had a good couple of months to play around, but not massive amounts of time.
To be fair, I think it's probably been a little bit less time. I think it's probably only been like a few weeks, because obviously throughout the episode we get like that strong connection to the fact that he still misses Grogu, and like he's like almost like just lost him in a sense, from what it seems like with the way he acts. So I think but also the start of the episode, I think from coming from the end of the previous episode where we got his theme into the start of the episode where it just starts off like hard, fast, brutal. We immediately get the Darksaber, we immediately get Mando, we immediately get the badassery that we've been missing from the Mandalorian. So I think it's like just a really strong start.
It's definitely given like I think the Book of Boba Fett a kick up the ass in terms of action packed and sort of like brutality in a sense. But just those scenes is all, and like There was a ton. I think this episode is one of the most jam-packed ones of the Book of Boba Fett so far. Because like Paz Vizsla in it, the Armorer, she's confirmed to still be alive. We've got Halo in it for some reason.
Master Chief turned up. It's really confusing.
To be fair, there is a trailer airing for the Halo TV show this Sunday in one of the international playoffs. So I was like, hang on, have I just turned over channels a second? What? It's like, it's divine magic, you know.
I've slipped onto the channel. Whoops.
I've slipped over and suddenly found like an entire new thing. Like, what the hell?
I also kind of like the fact he isn't competent with the Darksaber, because we haven't seen that he's a Force-sensitive character. Like, there are many Force-sensitive characters which can't use the Force, like Han Solo. So I kind of like the idea that he is this kind like vulnerable character without the Beskar, and all these like allies and armaments that he does have.
Was that the scene where it's like, you know, we have a space TSA where we had to like empty out all his suitcase and everything is carrying. It's like going for airport security. We've all flown before, I think. Have we all flown before?
Yeah.
Have you? Yeah. So it's like when you go through airport security, you have to like take off your belt, you get your shoes, get the laptop out. If we're taking cameras,
Taking off the shoes is the worst.
It's always taking off the belt, because I wear trainers. It's easy to take those off. But taking off a belt, especially if you
Your trousers are like half falling down.
Luckily, I wear tight trousers. Okay, so I have to. Imagine if you like wear like cargo shorts and like that. It's gonna be a case of like, yeah, just here's my belt and my shoes. You know.
I was gonna say the shoes.
And my Darksaber.
I think in an airport the shoes are the worst thing for me, because I always wear Vans or Doc Martens, so it's just like a long line of lace that you've got to undo, and then you got to like fit your feet back into them. But I was gonna say it's more just like you turn up to a club and like I every time I go to the club, I've always got way too much stuff in my pocket. So I'm just like,
everything.
Right, all these pens I've got to take out, my phone, my wallet, like my
switchblade.
Here's my Darksaber officer.
It's my blaster.
It takes out his like rocket things as well, and it also takes up a grappling wire he's got.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bit overkill, isn't it? Like, obviously, probably could have like murked that kid that was on the transport. Like,
And like, do they have a way of actually detecting what is a weapon on him? Because I mean, like, you think about if that was Boba Fett walking on, like his knees are shotguns. Is he expected to take his kneecaps off?
What was really odd is like when they walk into the transport, unless I wasn't watching when the scene was playing, but I thought he was walking into the terminal, then the alarms went off, and then he turned back around and emptied his weapons out. Unless he was just in like a giant queue looping around.
I think it's just a queue.
Yeah. Still, realistically, in the Star Wars universe, we can't escape queuing. Is everyone British? We love a good queue.
I mean, you can't. You just gotta love a good.
We love a good queue.
We love a good queue.
Up until last Thursday's queue, in which case I don't like queues.
If you jump a queue, I'll kill you. I'll just do it.
I don't like queues or people anymore.
Obviously, he's unloading all of his stuff to the droid before he gets on the transport. It would have been funny if it was just like someone just nabs the Darksaber.
I really thought his stuff
gets
was
it
going
for
to get
2
nicked.
seconds.
Yeah. I felt like that would have been a really kind of cheap plot point, though. You know, like just a character with a supreme weapon just having it nicked from a bag. It's like we've seen that in everything from like Indiana Jones to Star Wars.
It's like in Star Wars, isn't it, where Ahsoka gets her like lightsaber stolen. They spend a whole episode of it, which is a really good episode actually, chasing the lightsaber. It's really fun. Like, and also there's I think Star Wars is the master of dropping things and running. The first episode of Star Wars was all about Vader chasing lost plans. Because they got nicked off Scarif. I'm like, you had 2 Star Destroyers there and couldn't defend it. Well done, guys. Dicks.
Oopsie.
I think anyone in Star Wars just can't hold on to anything realistically.
I mean, the Empire can, because you know it's plot armor for the rebels.
Yeah. Did you notice in
Luke can't hold on to his family because they're crispy.
Speaking.
Same goes for Anakin as well.
This
Actually,
episode brought to you by barbecue sauce.
It's not just the men, but the women and children too.
Mustafar, do you need a holiday in the sun? What was I going to say? The Arm actually made a good point, because she said something. I can't remember what she said now. She's like, "Oh, the Empire only lasts for 30 years, as good as it was." I'm like, that's like always like a good blow in a sense, because she's basically saying obviously Mandalore lasted a hell of a lot longer. I mean, Mandalore is a society, a culture, a creed, whatever it is, you know, all of these things stood around since the days of the Old Republic, if not way before then, and stood right up until the Empire defeated it, which says something about Mandalore realistically, but the fact the Empire managed to defeat it. But also, talk about the scenes a minute, the bombing scene and the Night of a Thousand Tears. Damn.
That was a very powerful scene, especially with it, because it's sort of ramped up into this sort of like they're dropping these individual bombs on all the cities below, and then they get to the main like epicenter of the planet where we saw like a lot of stuff happen in the Clone Wars. We just see the whole thing go up.
Yeah, it kind of like just brings you to like the mindset of like real life war, of just seeing the absolute destruction of nuclear weapons, and there's like very little that remains other than the Beskar armor of the Mandalorian's helmets.
They effectively just like carpet bombed the city dome in a
Mm.
sense. I'm like, wow. And then also to make it even darker, they had what we all know as sort of the K2SO droids from Rogue One.
Yeah.
Obviously, we do have an actual classification. I can't
Yeah.
remember off the top of my head. Walking around, killing off anyone who was still alive in the rubble.
Yeah.
And also the scout droids or probe droids
Just
from
looking for
Empire
people as
Strikes
well.
Back and Lewis Spot. I was like, that's just some weird. Like,
Yeah.
they must have really pissed off the Empire.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if they were shooting survivors, but rather just shooting anybody they came across.
Potentially.
Mm.
That is a way you wipe out, like.
Yeah.
Also, it goes. I guess it's because obviously in Rebels we saw the Empire or the Mandalorians rise up against the Empire.
Mhm.
So obviously Thrawn was present, and they were developing a machine which could disintegrate
yeah.
armor, Mandalorian armor to be specific. Obviously, they then turned it on to Stormtrooper armor, but obviously escaped. Mandalore rose up. That was when Bo-Katan was gifted the Darksaber from Sabine Wren, who we now know is going to appear in the Ahsoka series as well, with obviously Ahsoka. So whether that'll be something will pop up at some point, I have a feeling all these characters are going to come together. And we know it's going to happen. All these series are coming together
Yeah.
in this culminating story, which obviously the main villain at this point in time looks to be the one and only Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Look, I mentioned him last week. I had to get him in this
Yeah.
week as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say we definitely mentioned it last week where we were saying how it does look like it's coming to a culmination of all these different series where all of the characters, well, like we're getting introduced to them and getting their backstories and getting to like fall in love with the characters as they are, with their flaws and their perks. And then I'm like, as we said last week, it's looking like it's going to come to like a bigger either series or film
Yeah.
or maybe a new trilogy.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of following the MCU template of creating all these kind of like smaller pockets of stories to then bring this like whole team dynamic against one big bad together. So Thrawn in this case is Thanos of the MCU.
And then they'll bring back Rey Skywalker as well.
Just to make it. No, I said this, I told you this today. I was like, if they do not, like, obviously, Thrawn's introduction book was called Heir to the Empire. That's the book that made him into his character. It was written by Timothy Zahn, who wrote the new books. I've got them on the shelves over there. I was saying, if like the Ahsoka series, if Chapter 8, which is to say like that's the final of Season 1, if that's not called Heir to the Empire or something like that, I will riot. Because that would be to introduce Thrawn, I feel like his chapter has to be called Heir to the Empire. Because that'll introduce him as like the best villain.
Yeah.
Just you outside Disney banging on the gates
What
by
the-
yourself. Why didn't you call it this?
Jack, we're off to America today. I'll be back.
Why are you,
And in
ta-
greater numbers.
why are you taking the Darksaber with you? What's going on there?
So we've got Star Wars Celebration this year, which hopefully is still going ahead. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, very very excited for that. Even if we don't make it out there,
I think we'll make it. Well, we still got tickets, so hopefully we can make it out there.
hopefully, yeah.
Do need to organise flights and hotels and stuff at some point, but
British government pending
we can travel at the minute, so I think.
at the minute.
Yeah. But
Totally
also,
just like
let's talk about the Mando's new Starfighter, because we spoke about his last podcast as well. We've done a video on it on the channel. Mando's got a new ship now. It is the N1 sort of classic Starfighter. Obviously, he's been in Star Wars for quite some time. So, yeah, what do you guys think of that one?
I think it was a very interesting choice of ship to bring back, like because it's like so long ago now that we saw it. But I think it's interesting for them to bring back and give specifically to Mando, especially because obviously before he had the Razor Crest, which was a much larger ship which he lived on with Grogu throughout both seasons, and now he's down to this much smaller, like insanely fast fighter pilot. But obviously he's got that section in the back of the ship, which is normally for droids, but could definitely fit a small green Jedi in.
Well, it's normally for droids, however, this one has a dome on it, which
Yeah.
the droid ones obviously didn't do because they would work on the ship as it was in combat. But yeah, it's definitely going to change up the dynamic of how he functions, because obviously the Razor Crest was his living space. It was like he's now gone from like a camper van to a smart car, but you know, it
sports
goes super
car.
fast.
Yeah, he switched
Smart
up to a
Tesla.
Mercedes.
Yeah, so obviously he's not gonna. It's gonna be for much shorter travels, or yeah, he's not gonna be able to float around in space and just exist. He's gonna have to be docking into places.
If only they had like a big cruiser or something they could dock with. What? Gideon's cruiser's still out there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what happened to it, so
I presume Bo-Katan's got it.
Yeah,
probably, yeah.
That makes it all the New Republic seized it. I doubt that. I reckon Katan like.
yeah, Bo-Katan most definitely has it. I
It's
reckon
an
that.
asset to retake Mandalore with.
Yeah, it's gonna be something that is gonna come back later. I feel when I reckon they're gonna tie in somehow that Bo-Katan does get the Darksaber back. because I feel like that is her entire character arc. If it ends with Mando taking over the throne, I feel like that would really dampen this entire long-going backstory of Bo-Katan, which has been going since the Clone Wars.
When she was introduced in the Clone Wars, it was just because I think Dave Filoni wanted like a female Mandalorian to be introduced. I think George Lucas even liked the ideas because he was still consulting on the Clone Wars at this point.
Yeah.
And it was one of its senior directors, because at that point Lucasfilm was still owned, or Lucasfilm directly owned Star Wars rather than Disney owning it. So I believe he was really on board with the idea. So whether, I don't know, like thinking about it, but obviously Bo-Katan's story is about claiming the Darksaber and like, taking over. And even the armor says something about that in this episode. She's like, oh, Bo-Katan held it and lost it, really. And she's quite blunt to the point where she's like, yeah, wasn't particularly a good time voting it.
Yeah.
And I even think she blames Bo-Katan for the fall of a Mandalorian race. She says, like, the curse is anyone who wields it and can't do it will bring on the blight of the species and they'll be split apart.
Yeah, it was that whole kind of like fateful story. She went against the way, and it brought doom to her and her people. And so she's now going for this whole redemption arc of wanting to attain the sword, but through the right means. But there's that conflict of she doesn't want to obviously go against Mando, because they're seen as an ally to her.
Also, Bo-Katan, she believes, obviously, what the armor says and what Bo-Katan is. Bo-Katan believes she has the right to the Darksaber through blood, which is obviously referencing Satine Kryze from the Clone Wars, who was sort of Obi-Wan's love interest. All that death scene still hurts her today, doesn't it? Every time. Which is a nice little reference and playback to that moment as well. I hope maybe in the Obi-Wan series, which is obviously coming this year, we maybe see a flashback to Satine or something like that. Because that could further build into the whole Bo-Katan thing. I reckon all of these series are going to be interconnected at some point. Speaking of interconnectivity, obviously one of the ending scenes of today's episode is we get the Space Police turning up, or Space Force, which is of course the New Republic guys flying around doing random stuff as per usual. So
every now and then they had a little comedy moment.
I love it when they turn up, to be fair, because it's like one old guy and one other guy wandering around trying to... They're always like one step behind as well, like, turning up. Because he goes like, oh yeah, the Razor Crest and Navarro, that was like, 4 months ago at this point in time? Like, that also gives us a set date of when that took place. That must have been only very recent. So in terms of how many... You might be right, it may only be weeks since Gideon's cruiser mission. That says a lot. Because if so... Because Book of Boba Fett, episode 1 of that, or when he took the throne, could have only taken place days or a week after Fett returned from Gideon's cruiser with Fennec Shand. So that is something to take into account. So the timeline is slowly coming about here.
Yeah, I do like the use of using these like space bobbies to kind of give us context behind the timeline of everything.
Because he mentions, so is it Paul Chung-Hun's, I think, or Lee's, that's how you pronounce his name, I thought I just butchered that, who is called Captain Carson Tiva, or whatever. He mentions like, oh yeah, we're chasing Imperial remnants out here in the Outer Rim. It's blatantly obvious the New Republic don't know what's actually going on.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though how they always, and more specifically the older gentleman, always seems to turn up around wherever Mando is. Like, because they're in like before when he saw Mando, they were in very different parts of the galaxies. Like specifically because they were in different galaxies.
Systems, yeah. Oh yeah,
systems. And yeah, he just sort of turns up again. Like randomly right near Mando, which is kind of odd.
They're trying to patrol the outer... Obviously, they are rangers of the New Republic. This is what that show is meant to be about until someone ruined it. But hey ho, that's a touchy subject.
We're not going to talk about that.
This is like their sort of thing. They are still ranging around, because that's what they're doing. They're checking out for sort of free roam, because the New Republic doesn't have the resources to police the Outer Rim. The Galactic Empire managed it, but a stretch.
But they did it via fear rather than actual.
Well, if you saw a Star Destroyer, it's just to be like, stop that. Like, Whereas the New Republic's got, what, 2 X-Wings?
Yeah, I feel like it really goes to show how thinly spread they are across the galaxy as well. Because if we're seeing the same rebels appearing over and over again, they must not have that many.
Not many pilots.
Or maybe the budget just doesn't cut for more rebels.
I think it's a case of like, it is just, because we've always seen 2 as well, 2 wingmen. So previously we've seen, obviously, Carson Tiva and then Trapper Wolf, which is aka Dave Filoni, who plays the rebel pilot. He appears in Mando twice. One in season 1, then in season 2 when they rescue him from the giant spiders, Dave Filoni's there. So then he's not when they pull up again. So I reckon it's just a case of having these recurring characters, but not all the time. Because obviously today is like Lieutenant Reed, who is the one also with him, was the guy, his actor, Max Lloyd-Jones, previously played Luke Skywalker in Mando season 2, because he was the body actor, so the stand-in for Mark Hamill, which is really cool. So like, I recognise this guy from somewhere, I don't know where. And then also you Google him, like, oh, okay.
For that really beautiful CG young Luke scene.
Should have just got Sebastian Stan or something. I like the fact they put Mark Hamill in.
Yeah, I did too, actually. I feel like they got a lot of unnecessary flack for that one scene, because they're like, oh, look at this weird-ass face swap. I didn't think it was too bad, you know. Yeah,
going.
it's the limitations of the technology. It's going to improve, and you're going to need to use it in shots like this for it to develop.
Yeah. I was saying, the thing is, like, I think it worked, like, perfectly fine. Like, it wasn't too bad, because we've seen, like, similar face swaps before with, like, actors that have passed on, but they've needed to bring them back for the specific stories, like, and they've worked fine.
Well, it's like, obviously Rogue One was a great pioneer of that, because they obviously had Carrie Fisher's face in it for Princess Leia.
Yeah,
but
and
also
then
they
Moff
got
Tarkin.
Yeah, so they got Guy Henry, who was an actor I'd followed for years because I used to watch Holby City religiously. Good show. They got him to stand in as Grand Moff Tarkin, but he's also, like, Guy Henry is also very much like Peter Cushing, where he's got the similar sort of statue, a similar facial build as well, and the same voice. It's very, like, commanding and will talk down to you. So, like, that was a perfect choice to then recast that, like, character over it. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Going back to the Gideon's Cruiser idea, obviously if Bo-Katan does have it, I think it would be interesting if they had a scene whereby you have all of the main characters on his cruiser, and then they're sort of like going along with they're looking for Thrawn, and then they come across Thrawn's ship,
His armada.
and then that also gives us like a scale of how big his ship is, because you've got like the quote unquote good guys in Gideon's old ship next to the much bigger Chimera. Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
We presume, obviously, the last time we saw Thrawn was in Star Wars Rebels, so that was just before the Battle of Yavin, where the Death Star obviously went bye-bye. And obviously he was taken off into hyperspace along with Ezra. So at this point, it's around about 10 years, give or take, if we round up. So Thrawn has been missing this long. We presume this long anyway. He could have reappeared in 6 ABY or something like that. We don't know. Was he Battle of Endor, 4 ABY or 3 ABY, one of them? So realistically, we don't know how long Thrawn's actually been missing for. In Mando, we see that obviously he's tasked Morgan Elsbeth, where she's holding the spear. She's been tasked with rebuilding the Imperial Starfleet, we presume, because she's mining resources, and was responsible for creating the Imperial Starfleet. Thanks to Ahsoka, we know she serves Grand Admiral Thrawn, so evidently Thrawn is building more ships, or needs her to build more stuff. You don't just go randomly pick up the person who built the Starfleet to, you know, do stuff like that. So I reckon, we will see the Chimera repaired at some point. So it's such a legendary ship as well. One of these painted. It's fantastic.
Yeah, especially with the scale of it as well.
Yeah. I just wonder if Thrawn is going to be kind of like tied in with the recapture of Mandalore. Maybe that could be like the home base of the Empire that they're trying to set up, and that's going to tie in all the characters together, because we've got all these Mandos who are wanting to recapture Mandalore, and then the Jedi which are wanting to get rid of the Empire for good, and it could really bring them all together and make this kind of montage. Maybe we're gonna finally see like Obi-Wan with Ahsoka with the Mandal, and it's just gonna be this huge epic battle.
There's so many possibilities, I think, of modern Star Wars at the minute. Like, obviously, we've got Rangers New Republic. We've obviously got new people they're bringing in as well. There's always new characters being created like this. I mean, look at Fennec Shand. She was created new, and she's also one of the best at the minute, I think. There's tons of new stuff they can actually do. Obviously, Mandalorian himself is a new character. Like, it began, 2018, I think, was it? Yeah, 2018? Or 19? One of them. No, it's 2019, yeah. It seems so long ago now, but it's realistically not.
Sorry, he's talking to himself again.
Yeah, it was like there's so many characters they can play around him. So when we actually do get to something like that, it'll be fantastic. I just can't wait. Like seeing all the heroes, it's going to be very much like an Avengers Assemble moment, really, isn't it? Where you got all of them stood there against Thrawn's army.
Yeah, I think there's definitely the possibility then we could also get Grogu back, because obviously we see the scene where the Forge Master and Mando have a conversation about the Beskar spear and the fact that their Mandalorians don't use Beskar for weapons, they use it for armor, and so that gets melted down and turned into a small little piece of chainmail for Grogu, which is quite cool and interesting. Although the amount of Beskar used for the spear to the size of the bag that Mando gets given doesn't quite seem to maybe add up.
It's because they would then use the armor for other foundlings as well, I'm pretty sure.
The tribe,
yeah. I would have thought though that they would have just like put it all into Grogu's armor, considering the Forge Master asks Mando what he wants it to be done with, because it is effectively his. Like he won it in battle.
Yeah, I mean, we do find out though in like the earlier Mando scenes, and from also like I believe it's in Rebels with the Mandalorians, that or the Clone Wars, where it shows that the Beskar is becoming more and more rare, and their armor isn't pure Beskar anymore. It's mixed in, like, alloyed with other metals. So obviously they're like spreading it across, so other foundlings can actually get, you know, not pure Beskar armor like Mando has, but like just little bits in their armor.
He sort of makes a comment about this because when she presents the Darksaber to the armorer, I think Mando says, "What is it like? This is made from a type of Beskar I've never seen before."
Yeah.
And it was forged many millennia ago or something, like decades or centuries ago.
I think
and
she's
that's
like
true.
1,000 years.
Yeah, so it's a millennium, wasn't it? Millennium?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it would have been because it's during the Old Republic. That's obviously I think that fits in with like the Mandalorian Wars of old. Because in Rebels it explains that really well, the story of the Darksaber. So yeah, you also Mandalore has been lost. That's where we got most of Beskar from.
Yeah.
So therefore we've not got access to these heroes. But speaking of Grogu, by the way, I always remember this image which circled around. Not sure if you guys have seen this one before.
No, I haven't. No.
So for those who are watching or listening right now, there is an image online last year following Mandalorian Season 2 of Grogu building his own lightsaber with Luke Skywalker. What if Grogu's lightsaber...
See it on the corner of the screen now.
What if Grogu's lightsaber is also Beskar?
Yeah, I think that would be really
Very
interesting.
cool.
I mean, as we were watching the Forge Master and he said, "What do you want it for?" my instant reaction was, lightsaber hilt. Maybe we're going to see a new Beskar lightsaber. And then we saw the chainmail links, and that was very quickly disproven.
I was going to say, yeah, like, I mean, as they said, they don't use Beskar for weapons. So
that to her hand.
it would... Well, it's a tool. It's a tool, but it can be used as a weapon.
She's the master of going, "Ooh, look at me! I shall evade the obvious."
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's also questionable though. Like, if they don't use Beskar for weapons, why the Darksaber is made out of it? Like,
well, actually, is a lightsaber a weapon, or is it purely made to defend things? Because notice the Jedi are all about defense. They were peacekeepers. It's a peacekeeping weapon.
Yeah, but if you're defending someone, you're still going to use a weapon to defend.
There is a line of logic where the lightsaber or a lightsaber isn't technically a weapon. I believe there is something in Star Wars where it's like
it's a very fancy torch.
It's a sign. It's a symbol more than
piece,
anything. Yeah. Like people would associate the lightsaber with the Jedi. They'd associate it with peace and with a code of honor
and cutting through blast doors.
Yeah, and younglings.
Oh no!
And not just the men, but the women
and children too.
Also, one thing I want to talk about as well, when we eventually get to the hangar scenes, Peli Motto, and this will lead to our next subject discussion, she has a BD unit droid, which is obviously similar to Cal Kestis' droid from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah.
That was really cool to see, because for a minute I thought that was the same droid from Fallen Order.
I did too.
And then we'd see Cal Kestis turn up, and I was
like,
like, oh my god!
That would be a great curveball, because all of us, when we thought, like, who was going to be appearing at the end of Mandalorian, like, some of us thought Cal Kestis would turn up, because, like, we had the game, same year, so like, that would have made a ton of sense to actually have Kestis turn up. It's like, well, we had the game, it's just finished and just released in time for Mando.
Yeah, I mean, they would already have the actor for it.
Yeah, Cameron Monaghan is the right age to play Cal Kestis at this point, because what he's in Jedi Fallen Order, when he starts off, he's a Padawan of a young age. He's like 9 or 10. By the time we meet up with him, he's like 16. So Monaghan himself is 30. So this time he would align almost perfectly to play that. Almost like that's been deliberately done in a sense.
Is he 30?
I think Cameron Monaghan's 30.
He looks good for his age.
I thought he was like in his early 20s.
No,
He definitely doesn't look 30.
Also, Shameless was like years ago now.
Oh, what is it with like finding out about actors that like look like they're a lot younger than they are? Like, is it Andrew Garfield I found out recently? He's like nearly 40. He's 39. Yeah.
Cameron Monaghan is 28 years, so yeah, he's almost 30.
Okay,
Still.
28.
There's more. It's like the kid from Nanny McPhee, and he was then in Maze Runner. He's so old.
Is he?
Yeah, like in comparison to how young he looks like he could still pass as a 17-year-old.
Speaking of like people, really good for age, both Garza Fwip and Fennec Shand, so Ming-Na Wen and Jennifer Beals, I think she's called, they look fantastic for their age. Like, cause I think Jennifer Beals plays Garza Fwip, she's like 50 something. Ming-Na Wen's also 51, I think. So like this show, I think later shows at the minute, especially TV. In like, this is gonna get a deep discussion here. In like, obviously, like typically media, we all have like young, beautiful looking people being the headliners for shows. I mean, look at like early stuff like that. It always had to be the young, beautiful people, didn't it? Nowadays, we've got a show where the lead actor is of like New Zealand descent. There's also I think Tem is like 50, 60. Like, that's just a great age leader show. Then obviously we can bend over to Star Trek, so Patrick Stewart's 81, leading his own show. Like, it's great, really. Like, it shows you don't have to be a super young actor or actress and look beautiful to actually play. I mean, some of these cats do look beautiful with their age anyway. So.
As I say, yeah, it's really breaking away from the old sort of style Hollywood stereotype of sort of these older gentlemen like always getting with these young women, and there's like this cut off age where they don't go any further. Because obviously, like if you look back at like old films like older James Bond films now,
I was thinking you were going to bring Sean Connery into this,
or like the Expendables, or like any older like Hollywood film, you've always got these older men like. No matter like it sort of ranges from like the late 20s all the way up until like they're like gone 70s or 80s, and they're still like pulling these like really young like like beautiful like 20 and like early 30-year-olds, but then like
it's like predatory, sort of, like, honestly.
Yeah, it's very weird. But yeah, I'd say it's very nice to see like
this James Bond film's gone.
The Star Wars universe as it currently is evolving, like sort of bringing in all these actors of different ages, and then just like
on that topic, how old was Padme when she got with Anakin? I feel like that's a topic it needs to be. If we're going down this road.
What was it? He was 9, and she was supposed to be 12 or 13, I believe. Which is it's still a bit weird.
It's weird, and with the way the actors looked, the age gap looked huge.
Yeah, it made it look like she was 18 and he was like 8.
Yeah.
So Padme was actually 24 in Attack of the Clones.
Oh, that's
how old was he?
Oh, I'm just trying to Google it a second. I can't spell Anakin.
Because I'm pretty sure in episode 1 he was supposed to be like around 8 or 9. And she was supposed to be around 13 or 14.
So I don't know about you guys, but if I was 24 and hanging out with like the 10-year-old that Anakin was.
Oh, okay, to be fair, he would have been 20. So
he would have been 20. Okay, yeah, so it's 4 years different. Yeah, so I was right.
Yeah.
Would you also like to know if Admiral Akbar was 30-ish? Just what you'd like to know.
It's a trap!
Oh wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. In canon, sorry, he is 19. So yeah, 1 year younger. Still.
1 year.
Yeah, so he was 19.
Oh, they definitely cast wrong for that then, didn't they?
19 and 24. I mean, I think the casting was like. I think the casting for like older Anakin was perfect.
Yeah.
I think the casting for younger Anakin. Maybe not so much, especially with the amount of flack that he like got for the role as well. Like, I definitely don't think a lot of the hate that a lot of the actors have got over the years for the roles that they've played wasn't deserved.
Yeah, I agree.
Kenobi was 35 in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was.
Daddy Kenobi. But obviously, we spoke about Jedi Fallen Order a second ago. Did you guys see the announcements this week for the new Star Wars games?
I am excited.
I've seen about Lego Star Wars, but I haven't seen anything else, so this is new to me.
Cool. So obviously we've got Lego Star Wars with Skywalker Saga finally releasing on April this year, which is going to be fantastic. I'm really hyped for that because it's the biggest Lego game they've ever done. It's spread across 9 episodes of Star Wars, including content from The Bad Batch, Mandalorian, classic character packs. I expect there'll be future DLC down the road potentially.
Now I get to complete episode 1 Star Wars Lego for like the 400th time. And...
Yeah, I'm playing
on another disc.
I'm gonna be collecting my studs for days. I'm gonna tell you that.
Give me all those purple studs.
I look forward to streaming of that one. But also, obviously, many other studios are now making Star Wars games. We've obviously got Quantic Dream making Star Wars Eclipse, which looks beautiful, even if it's sort of shrouded in controversy. But that's another time. We've also got Ubisoft and Massive making an open world Star Wars game, which a lot of people are theorizing is going to be Mandalorian-esque based, where you're going around as a bounty hunter. Again, theories, no one knows what it will be yet. We've also got Star Wars Hunters, which is a mobile Switch game. There's one other I'm forgetting. I can't remember what it is now. Anyway, Respawn Entertainment, who are obviously a subsidiary of EA, they made Jedi Fallen Order. They've also recently made Medal of Honor, a new sort of game based on the old classic ones. Because that's what Vince Zambella and his other studio head.
Medal of Honor.
What a
game.
Yeah. So they made Call of Duty. I never knew Vince Zambella and his like partner or like studio partner Jared, I think he's called West, also made Call of Duty. Those are the 2 people who made that franchise. Like, I never knew that. I knew obviously like someone had an involvement in it, but I didn't realize it was Vince himself who made that. Then when he left Activision, tried suing them apparently.
Now we've all learned something.
So anyway, Respawn are making 3 new Star Wars games. There is a Star Wars Jedi sequel. Now, it's not listed as Jedi Fallen Order 2 or a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. It's just called Star Wars Jedi 2. So I was thinking, what if it's focused on another aspect of Jedi? Because obviously, so far we've got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. What if it's something else, something entirely like Star Wars Jedi Acolyte, or plenty of titles could be chucked in there.
Yeah.
What if, like, as much as I think many of us would like it focused on Cal Kestis, it could be named something entirely different, and we could get another Jedi to focus on. What about a Jedi in the Clone Era or something like that?
Yeah.
That could be really cool. Or, in the High Republic, or in the where we find Mando now, that could be really cool. It's another era of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I mean they have got this massive roster of Jedi which have been like not particularly used in the main source material. Like you'll get like snippets in the comics and stuff, but that's like a set of material that a lot of Star Wars fans haven't actually been able to look through.
So what you're saying is you're excited for the game that's going to be Jedi Coleman Trebo with a guy with a dino head from Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be...
maybe we'll
what's his
even
name?
finally get Darth Jar Jar.
We're still going to die, Annie!
Jedi Master Poof, the long neck guy in Episode 1.
Oh, yes.
Bring on long neck!
No,
Pretty
isn't it
daddy
the
long neck.
robot chicken one where it's like, I'm back with pizza. Oh my god, everybody I know is dead.
Hey, do I know you? You look familiar. No, sir. Just here's your lunch.
It's like,
Serving
everybody
on
I
the
know
Death
is
Star.
dead. But also they've announced a brand new FPS title. So Respawn are making an FPS title because the Battlefront is once again unfortunately dead because EA did not want to make Battlefront 3. Come on, guys, really?
Basically, they just need to stop cutting funding to it and keep developing rather.
Well, they
Also, just stop being a whore for money.
wanted
Just
to
stop.
focus on
Okay.
Battlefield 2042, and that went really well, didn't it? So, Respawn are making an FPS game. Now, what's really interesting is the guy who is the game director of this is called Peter Hirschman. Now, that name might not completely ring a bell. However, he is a veteran in the Star Wars gaming space because he was an executive producer on Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2005 classic one.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
The Force Unleashed,
Oh.
Empire Strikes Back,
Oh, stop.
Star Wars or Lego Star Wars The Complete Trilogy,
Oh, I can't take any more.
including the first 3 episodes of the other
Yeah.
game. So basically, he knows his way around a Star Wars game or two. He's also worked
The
on,
good ones.
yeah, he's also worked on Medal of Honor as well, so he's
Okay,
well
yeah.
versed in how to create a good FPS title, shall we say.
Fantastic.
So hopefully, with his direction, this next FPS title, which I
things.
hope is multiplayer for the sake of the whole community,
Mhm.
is going to be out there. Like, it would be fantastic if we got like a modern Battlefront. They could call it something different. It doesn't have to be called Battlefront. Call it Warzone or Warfield. I don't know. Anything.
Warzone.
Well, it could be
Star
called that.
Wars Battle Royale.
I would take a Star Wars Battle Royale.
To be fair, like, it could be interesting, like, work like that.
I think
Yeah.
it would be awesome if they like went back sort of classic style and did like great online, a brilliant campaign, and then I guess because it's modern, like a Warzone
So, yeah,
style thing.
Realistically, I feel like
But for
EA
Star
dropped
Wars.
the ball. This is a longer discussion for another time. EA dropped the ball on Battlefront because it could have been like this next gen.
Could have been huge.
Imagine
Yeah.
like clone customization or like that. Because in clone
Yeah.
customization, like they've also got the attachments. I mean, look at the clones we got there. Paint, difference of that.
Yeah.
Cody's helmet had, like antennas, like and stuff like
They
that.
hid
Five
so
of us,
much
baby.
behind paywalls, and they promised nothing would be hidden behind paywalls.
Day one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
day one it was loot boxes.
I will say,
and...
to credit to DICE and EA, by the time they ended the support of Battlefront 2, it was a really stellar game. It did eventually get there.
Yeah.
Once the Geonosis update came out with obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi, it really pivoted and changed. It was just, I think, too little too late.
Obi-Wan
unfortunately.
just makes everything better. That's why. You
It's
just
true,
need more
Obi-Wan's
Obi-Wan.
just more Obi-Wan in
like
life.
gameplay wise, it is enjoyable. However, it's just attracted by this kind of really toxic capitalist method that they've been trying to like push
And down the
out.
political route we go.
Oh no! Steer away! Steer away! I want to quickly.
Abort.
Well, it is. It's just so frustrating because it's just this like you can't look past the greed of it. They're not making the game for the love of the game. They're making it simply as a money bag.
Yeah, they're not giving anything back to the community that
Yeah.
is invested. Like they're already investing like what 40 to 60 pounds or
quid
dollars.
these days. Games
Yeah.
aren't cheap. Or if you're getting like premium editions,
It's like upwards of 100.
yeah, I mean, there's been like game editions which have been ridiculous. I think there was like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Their like premium edition. You could buy a car and drive to Egypt for cheaper than it was to buy the premium edition.
This is why we-
Like that's premium. That's premium.
That's why we should have another YouTube channel just to prove stupid stuff like that. Like, right, get a car, you'll drive into Egypt for all of us in.
Yeah.
Troy can be home based, we'll just report back into here. It's like, we're currently in the Nile River. And we're sinking. What are you thinking about? Also, the other game is a Star Wars strategy game. Now, this is
okay.
actually made by a newly formed studio called Bit Reactor. They are formed of former Firaxis devs. Does that name ring a bell for you?
No, it doesn't.
So Firaxis made Sid Meier's Civilization.
Oh,
They
okay.
also-
Fraxis. Yeah.
They also made XCOM. which is a tactical
Yeah.
shooter strategy game.
Civilization Star Wars.
Now, probably not, because it's going to be strategy in a sense. I don't think it'd be
It'd be more like
Civilization.
Command and Conquer, or
No,
is
I
it going to be
reckon
more
it's
like
gonna be-
XCOM?
I think it's be XCOM. And also, wouldn't it be amazing if it was set on like a Republic Commando team or something like that?
Yeah.
Think of XCOM. You send a team of strike guys
Yeah.
in to take something out, don't you?
It would make sense, yeah.
What
Yeah,
about
you've
is
got
that?
like a bad batch of your own, and you send them in.
Because obviously they originally got... I'm not sure if it ever resolved where it was going. So we all remember Republic Commando, that game. Do we all remember the theme to it? That sort of like really heavy chanting, what is arguably a bit of Mandalorian music? That theme there, the guy who originally did that confirmed sometime last year that he returned to rescore that or something. Now, I don't think it appeared in the Bad Batch. I'd have to double check my stuff again, because I'm not sure that appeared. However, yeah, whether that's for another project that's not been announced yet, that could be pretty interesting.
Could be very interesting. I think it would be cool to see like maybe like a civilization style Star Wars game where you start from like is it the High Order before Episode
High
1?
Republic.
High Republic. Where you start in the High Republic and then you go all the way through like all the ages, or like you start even before the High Republic.
You
and
can
you
start
go
when
all the way
like Jedi
from
were like tribal.
yeah,
and
and
they
you
all
go like
started from
all the
yeah.
way through the years, all the way to like Empire times. I think a game like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Also,
like the difference in tech, so you can like specialize into Sith tech or Jedi tech
Yeah.
or Republic tech. And then eventually
Cloning
it's going to go
droids.
into space, maybe. Like you could have like a galactic style civilization, so maybe you all have your own planet,
yeah, and make it a little bit like
like Galactic Conquest and Star Wars
Yeah.
Battlefront 2, but with this base building aspect. Now that would be awesome.
that would be very cool. I was gonna say I want to jump back to the Jedi Star Wars game. We've seen Jedi becoming Sith with Force Unleashed. We've seen Jedi just progressing through and avoiding becoming a Sith. We haven't seen a Jedi. We haven't seen a Sith becoming a Jedi.
What if like this new game is focused like an Inquisitor turning back to the light or something? That'd be interesting.
Or just a full bad, like I'm a bad guy. This is like a 16 or an 18
I'm not sure
style
they'd call
game.
it Jedi,
That would be
in case.
awesome.
Like, I don't think it would be called. That'd be called something else. In a
I
sense.
mean, like we've had like Sith work with Jedi and stuff. Like so, we've seen that with Ventress. Even Darth Maul has like ended up working with Jedi in some aspects. So yeah, I reckon it would be interesting to see someone like a Jedi with a red lightsaber. You know, they fully come back to their ways. Because I mean, the Sith were very tied in with the Jedi in like the very original early days of the Order, and it was the Jedi who betrayed the Sith, not the other way around, which I think is like an insane dynamic. Like Sith knowledge is Jedi knowledge. However, the Jedi shunned it and made something which was like arguably like really evil. Like they really screwed over the Sith.
When you think it's like you get pure blooded Sith as well, it's almost like space racism in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely is.
But turning back to the point here, to wrap this sort of like show up for today, I want to talk about predictions for next week's The Book of Boba Fett, or Mandalorian Mark II as we're now calling it. What do we think is going to happen? Because obviously I think we've got 2 episodes left. I don't know how many episodes of Book of Boba Fett again. I feel like it's there's only 2 left, I think so. There's chapter 6 next week, 6th episode, chapter 7. Yeah, it's only 2 episodes left.
Yeah, well,
7 fun episodes, yeah.
my prediction is it feels very much like Boba is gathering up all the iconic bounty hunters of the Star Wars universe. Like we've got Santi in there, we've got Mando, Boba himself. You know, it's just this. I think it's gonna just be this big collection, like Expendables style, of all these like absolute badasses
Bounty
that
hunters
we love.
assemble.
Yeah, and they're gonna be going off, to, you know, this war that they're preparing for.
Well, because the oncoming storm is on Tatooine now, the pikes have arrived.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting. There's going to be a twist at some point. Like, all these Star shows point to this, and you know what I'm going to say who the twist is going to be. What is it?
It's going to be Thrawn.
No, not that.
No?
For Book of Boba Fett, it's going to be Crimson Dawn. They're going to show up.
yes. Yeah.
It's my other one. It's where I go through multiple, like, hey, this is popping up this week. I highly reckon, like, next week we'll see the actual battle take place. Like, we'll see Black Chrysanthemum, Mando, all these sort of forces team up to kick the ever-living shit out of the pikes, probably.
Yeah.
And then in episode 7, it's like, oh, it's all fine, dandy. Everyone goes their separate ways. Bam, Crimson
And
Dawn
then,
show up. Just Crimson Dawn level it. I really wish we got a cameo of Kira, or how did you pronounce it?
Kira.
In, like, I was going to say Mando chapter 7. Book of Boba Fett chapter 7. That'd be great. Your predictions for chapter 6?
I think that it might be another building episode where they gather some more friends together. Like they're gonna have some conflicts, and then maybe maybe we might even see Crimson Dawn coming to wipe out the Pikes. Like the Pikes and like some of the team have like a little skirmish, and then Crimson Dawn turn up and just wipe out the Pikes because they can, and they're like, they're not the threat, we're the threat. But we might also get a chance to see other iconic cowboy-esque bounty hunters turn up still, because we're definitely excited for that. We've definitely got
because we think Cad Bane will
the
show
whole
up at some
theme.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we know he's going to turn up at some point soon, thanks to like information online, such and hints and suggestions. So like, it's going to be a case in point. He'll show up at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it definitely makes sense to have a whole episode based around them looking for like people to join them, and then Cad Bane turns up. We get a conflict between Boba and Cad Bane where maybe they end up being on the same side. We get the Pikes coming in, proving like they're a bit of an issue, and then maybe we have Crimson Dawn coming and we're like, we're the actual issue.
We're the ones, yeah.
Like we could take down the Pikes, and then that leads into episode 7, which is a big accumulation of between the Crimson Dawn and Boba and all of his allies.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see if Cad Bane is on the side of Boba, like we kind of really want him to be, or if he is going to be the big opposing force. Because I mean, he is an insanely skilled bounty hunter. Like, he managed to infiltrate the Jedi base and come out alive, which in of itself is a monumental feat.
We were discussing this last week. I'm not sure if you know this. I obviously read up on Cad Bane when we started researching him for videos and such. Like, I knew a lot about him because I watched Clone Wars when he first appeared and stuff like that. And obviously he appeared in Bad Batch. Unfortunately, he was not in Rebels. However, he actually was trained under Jango Fett for a short point, but also then would go on to train Boba Fett when he came of age, and also worked with Boba Fett. In deleted Star Wars The Clone Wars material, which has never made it to the light of day, the reason Fett has the dent in his helmet is because Cad Bane shot him there. So they had like a Western-style shooter, where it's both from so long and they drew the pistols and shoot. So the reason Cad Bane has that sort of metal implant is because he got shot in the head. The reason Boba has the dent because he got shot in the head. The dent's still on the helmet, so that fight technically happened. And given we see, was it Bane in the Bad Batch with that shot as well, perhaps this is signifying this has already happened at some point. So whether we'll have round 2, that could be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either way, Book of Boba Fett's heating up. I cannot wait to see what's happening in the show. Like, 2 more ones to go, or 2 more chapters to go now. Hopefully then we'll either be on to Andor, Kenobi, or anything else. Like,
Kenobi!
I reckon Kenobi comes May 4. Oh no, because we've got Bad Batch Season 2. I reckon that's going to be the next one. Like, that'll release in spring, they say.
But I think Kenobi will come fairly fast after it, because Bad Batch will be more of a lighter thing, whereas I think Kenobi will hopefully be a slightly darker
thing.
Kenobi's launch has to coincide with something great.
Yeah.
Because it's February now. That's March, May. It would be tough to fit something. April, May. I forgot a month there. They could fit Kenobi in. To be fair, Kenobi could land in March, but I feel like they would have started marketing it by now. Unless it's going to be an ending bit to Book of Boba Fett where it goes coming soon. I reckon they'll do that as well.
Yeah, maybe they'll give like a sneak preview trailer.
Yeah, at the end of Mando, they did like Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, coming soon.
One thing as well. Do you think Boba Fett is going to get a season 2?
Yes, I think he will.
This is a hard one because I feel like it hasn't been as well received as The Mandalorian. I personally loved it, besides like a few little aspects. So I wasn't too keen on the like cyberpunk motorcyclists. I thought that was a little bit...
It was out of place.
Yeah.
It should have been on Coruscant.
Yeah, like, it just felt like it didn't match up with any of the aesthetic of the show. However, I would hope it gets another season, because I feel like it is just growing and becoming even better, and I'd love them to go into like a more grittier, darker side of it. Because obviously we've got Boba being this quite passive character now. He wants to lead via respect and honor, not through fear like Jabba did. But I'd like him to come through like some moral dilemmas where he has to do some things that he doesn't want to do anymore.
I think it's definitely, whether there's room for season 2, I think remains to be seen. We've got to see how this season plays out first, and then go from there, I think.
I was going to say, we definitely haven't seen him sort of have the growth that his character says that it wants by like wanting to be ruling with respect. I think if they don't do it, they'll do another season of Mandalorian. You'll have the Ahsoka series, and then whatever else comes after that as well, to sort of build up towards this big end point, which we sort of know is probably somewhere in the future, just not sure how far.
It's all coming together. They've got so many years worth of content planned together, and also new shows on the horizon all the time. So I reckon it remains to be seen. But we'll wrap this up today. Thank you everyone for watching this episode 2 of the podcast. Sam, thank you for joining us as a special guest. Hopefully we'll have you back in the future to discuss more Star Wars, especially when Kenobi comes out as well.
Yeah,
I feel like that'd
absolutely.
be
I'll be here.
a pivotal one. Where can people find you and follow you? Should we just stick your stuff on screen?
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. You can find me on Twitch under DesignatedDuck. I will be streaming soon. You can find me on Instagram at SammyChamber_. And that's about it so far.
I'd link tree won't be in the description, but we'll try.
Yeah, social media will be growing.
Alright, thank you for watching. You can obviously follow us here on YouTube, if not Twitter, and all other social medias as well. If by any chance we have uploaded this to Spotify, you're not watching me looking into the camera right now, but you're probably hearing me speak, hopefully, by this point. So yeah, stick around for next week's episode. We'll have another special guest who is staring me in the eyes currently and looking like he's about to kill me because he wants dinner. Either way, I've been Captain Jack, joined by young Obi-Wan, and we'll see you very soon.